Hey gang, it's Ruben. Welcome back to my channel. So there's this popular misconception by non-believers who think that as people gain more knowledge and intelligence and as society becomes more educated, there is no need for God. That belief in God is rooted in ignorance and science denial, essentially, right? And look, this is just a bogus argument. It's not true. And there's really no evidence to correlate that as society becomes smarter, that the worldview of God shifts. Because first of all, recorded human history has shown that we have always had the majority of people believe in God. But let me pause for a second and put this out here right now. I am not trying to commit what would you call the ad populum fallacy. I am not saying that because the majority of people believe in God, that that's evidence for God. No, what I am talking about instead is that the worldview with God in it is the dominant worldview, and it continues to be the dominant worldview. And if the assertion by skeptics is true, that as human society becomes more educated and has more access to knowledge, that the rational thinking of a worldview without God should be the mainstream is just false. And I found this really cool data model that shows population by groupings. As you can see right here, this is population growth by both religious and non-religious people. And it's pretty cool because something happened at the turn of the 20th century, and this was where the naturalism worldview was growing, theory of evolution was growing. Obviously, we had the big World War I and World War II, so technology spiked exponentially, access to information grew, and something happened, right? Where all of a sudden the atheist population grew. And if we see here, right, I'll just pause for a second just after 2 billion people, right? You can see right after 1926, World War I had already happened. And what does the population makeup look like in this context? Well, the unaffiliated or the non-believers or the skeptics, right, are at 161 million in comparison to 2 billion people. So let's just kind of do a simple calculation on this. So 161 million people for 2 billion people, and yes, this is rounded down, but it's the same math, is about 8% essentially, right? So, but you'll see that this trend does continue to grow, and it actually grows pretty quickly in just a matter of 25 years or so. As the population increases again, we'll go to the next big measurement, right, of 3 billion people. So here we go, right? Almost at 1960, right, where the population is 3 billion. And you can see now the unaffiliated have taken second place essentially, right? So this assertion that as people have more access to knowledge and we're through science, we're gaining a better naturalistic perspective of nature and how things function. There's no need for God. If this is really true, then so far the trend is indicating so. And what does the math say? Well, the math tells us 572 million people and 3 billion people, right, at the time. So 19%, right? So that shows that it's growing pretty substantially, but then what you're going to notice is that it stays flat. Like even though there was this hockey stick, it did essentially double over twice in just 25 years, all of a sudden it flattens. So let's just kind of fast forward this guy again, right? We're going to jump to the 21st century, right? So here we go, 2007, we're over 6 billion people now. 2008, 6.4 billion people. And you can see now they're no longer in second place. The religion of Muslims has come into second place. And what does the percentage look like now? So you've got 6.5 billion people, and you've got over 1 billion non-believers. So you got 1 billion non-believers, and 15%, right? And if we go ahead and just come to the present, right? So here we go, 2022. You know what? I'm just going to fast forward this guy and show you what it's going to look like when we get to 8 billion people. So there we go. By 2026, we should be at 8 billion people. Wow. And what does the math look like then? You can see that the unaffiliated is actually shrinking, right? There's other belief systems that are leapfrogging over the top of non-believers. And so in 2026, you've got over 8 billion people. This is the projection, right? And you've got the unaffiliated at 1.2 billion, which, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of people, but relative to the world population, what is it? %, right? So here we go again. So as you can see, right, this claim that as we have more access to technology, as science continues to grow, as people become smarter, as society becomes smarter, then an atheistic worldview should be the dominant worldview. This is just not true. And look, here's a couple of quotes by some atheists over time that held onto this belief system. So it's a popular secular myth, but it is a myth, right? It's just not rooted in truth. So don't you dare let anybody make you feel guilty for your belief, or don't just sit there and not say something if there's anybody claiming that faith is irrational, that belief in God is irrational or rooted in ignorance. That's just totally bogus, not true. And I'll have the link to the full video for this data model in case you wanted to just kind of look at the whole timeline for yourself. I think it's pretty neat. Anyway, that's all for this episode, guys. God bless you.